Welcome to a Swift in plain English tutorial. In this tutorial I'll be going through very basics of Swift programming. If you're basically really unfamiliar with programming, you've never programmed in a computer language before, this is for you. If you have programmed in a computer language and just want to see what the differences are with Swift compared to whatever language you're programming before, feel free just to have this on like 2 times speed or something, because a lot of it's going to be quite familiar. So starting off with lets and vars. Lets are essentially constants and vars are variables. And obviously, as the name suggests, with constants is something that doesn't change, it's constant. So once it's assigned, so say name equals Josh, that's its value pretty much for the foreseeable future. It cannot be changed. So if I try to give it a new value, so say name here, say George, it will complain. It will kick up a fuss saying let is a constant. It can be what's called mutable, which means you can't mutate. Also, quick thing to note is that lets are declared with let, and then you declare your variable name. And then you use the equals, which means is an assignment. Is not necessarily what equals means in mathematical terms. It's literally just saying it's being assigned this value or this string. And then if you want to change that value later on, you then call that same variable, well, constant in this regard, but it should be a variable, and then give it a new value. But let's get rid of this error, and to do that you change it to a variable, which is denoted with var, and then if it is a variable you can change it later on, so it can mutate. So everything above this name is equal to Josh, and then everything below here is equal to George. And that's the main difference between lets and vars. Vars you can assign new values. You may ask yourself, what's the point in lets? What's the point in constants if you're just going to want to change it further down the line? The useful thing about let constants that if you do want something to remain constant and not accidentally change it later on, especially when you're developing an app, for example, where things get more complicated, you want it to give a spike of warning if you are changing a value that you do not intend to be changed. So it can be useful there, just for like error, just to make sure you don't crop up later on and cause an error further down the line. Alright, so moving on to basic operators. I'm sure everyone's familiar with basic math, where you've got add, addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. Program is no different. So if I say declare a variable called a, which is equal to 3, and say a variable called b, which is equal to 5, or I'm assigning those values to those variables. Then if I wanted to have a variable called c, which is a calculation, I can say a plus b is whatever a plus b is, or the sum of a and b, which is 8. So this is incredibly useful because obviously you can just get a computer to do maths for you essentially. You don't have to always figure out what the calculation is. Like, you can always just say another variable is equal to whatever mathematical equation you want essentially. So obviously you've got plus, you've got subtract as well, so that's going to be -2. If you do 3 minus 5, it's -2. And if you say, if I made this 30 for example, and did a divided by z, so 5 goes to the 36 times. The reason I changed it there is because if I left it as 3, it would be a decimal number, but for reasons I'm not going to get into in this video, it wouldn't come out as a decimal, it would come out as 0 because it's an integer, but I won't get into that in this particular video. It's more about data types. So that'll be left for another time. So that is something to note with division, or if you're expecting a decimal and you're using integers or whole numbers, you're only going to get a whole number rounded down if you're going to get say a decimal if you're expecting a decimal. So that's something to note. And then the multiplication operator is star on the keyboard. So A times B is 150, and then that's been assigned to the value of C. Something to note is you can use lets here as well, but once obviously you assign the initial value of C, you can't change it. So I can't say then obviously C equals 70 later on. It's going to complain. Something else to note as well is there needs to be an identical amount of white space between the operators. So like if you did that, I know it's going to complain anyway, but well, let's change this back to a var. It's going to complain because it needs to be consistent white space on both sides. So you can do that, and it'll be fine. But it's neat just to do that, and it needs to be symmetrical. Otherwise, it's going to complain. It just needs. It's just something that it likes to have. So that's something to note as well. The remainder operator basically does what it says on the tin. It basically gives you the remainder. So say, okay, so you've got 15. You want to see how many times 3 goes into 15. Or sorry, if you want to see if 3 goes into 15, you use the remainder operator, which is the % sign 3. So this basically gives you then the remainder over here, which is obviously 0 because 3 does go into 15. But if I wanted to try 4, how many times does 4 go into? What's the remainder of 4 going into 15? Obviously 4 goes into 12, but remainder 3. So that's really useful if you want to see if a certain number wants to go into goes into another number. If you just, or if you do it using like an if statement, which I'm not going to get into in this tutorial. If you want to see if you want to use even numbers or odd numbers, you can just see if it's divisible by 2, and if that's equal to 0, then obviously it's going to be an even number. But yep, this is the remainder operator. Moving on to the compound assignment operators. So moving on from our variables from earlier, the compound assignment operator essentially is just a quick shorthand way of doing something. So say if I wanted to reassign C, say I wanted to add A to C and then assign that then the new value to C. So that's 100. So obviously remember C is 70. C plus 30, so 70 plus 30 is 100. And then assign that new value to C. So obviously C is then going to be 100 after that. Basically a shorthand way of doing this is C plus equals A. And it basically adds A to C and then assigns a new value to C. So it's a shorthand way of doing that. And you can do this with minus, times, and divide. So if I did minus, it's going to give 40, and then assign that new value of 40 to C. And that's pretty much all she wrote. So you can do that with times, plus, minus, divide. It's fair game. And then the comparison operator. So you might, like I said earlier, equals here by itself just means it's been assigned a value. It doesn't necessarily mean equals in the mathematical sense. It's just being assigned. It's the assignment operator. So what does mean equals in Swift? So equals in Swift is 2 equals. So if you do the comparison, is what's known as a comparison operator. So you want to say you want to find out if A is equal to B in mathematical sense. You do A equals B. It's just as simple as that really, and then that returns a bool, which essentially means true or a boolean. So that's either true or false. In this case, it's obviously false because A is 30 and B is 5. So obviously they're not equal. But then if I said declare them as a variable, var d equals 40, and then see if d is equal to C, that's going to return true because obviously C is 40 as well, as we determined up here. And then this is useful for determining obviously if an unknown variable or a constant is equal to another constant, and then doing logic based off of that. So that's pretty much it for this tutorial. So I hope that you found that helpful. Be sure to subscribe for more tutorials like this one. See ya.